friends. We are on day 7. It's fun to watch how the progression of people here still doing the practice, only 7 days in, how it has already started to fall off. I would encourage you, discipline yourself to lean in to the wisdom. Lean into the wisdom that's within you. The quietude of mind happens when you have the capacity to recognize what is you and what is not you, and the wisdom that you can gather from that. So today we're going to go a little deeper into the fear gates, because that's the only thing that holds anybody back from stepping into the magic that is available. You guys have heard me say this before. The consciousness field is just an ocean of potential. When Ra talked about the neutrino ocean and how the neutrinos have mass, and that mass is filled with data, and that data then filters through us, excuse me, and moves through us, moves through the next person, but we are also informing the neutrino ocean through, as it filters through us, we're dropping our wisdom into it as well. We're dropping our, design and capacity onto that little data bit, and it moves on. So this is why I love watching how the external world tries to replicate what is happening magically with nature and us. And 90% of the time, well, I'm going to say almost all of the time, it's going to fail, because there's no way to replicate the profound wisdom that's happening here. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Man, I could go on and on and on. I could talk for hours about design and the beauty of it all. So as you see, not much has changed again, which maybe that's why people are falling off the edge, because they don't think that there's anything here to learn. Well, what I see this as is this is a deeper way for us to really bring in the wisdom, because it's now 7 days of not a whole bunch of shifts that can really bring the wisdom of what it is that we need to harness and learn. And I do want to talk about fear. However, I want to bring this to your attention is as we're watching the moon again was in the 53. Now it's in the 62. Then it's going to the 56. Of course, this is the mandala, right? We watch the mandala move around. The planets move around in our sky clock. So the 53, again, during this full moon reality, and now the 62, the 53 again, let's just lean into it. What is it? Well, if I have this little Bible, I look at it, I love it. I write so many notes here for myself. If you want to have my PDFs, they are actually for sale in the store, so you can grab them. They're, quite inexpensive for the material that's involved in there. So when we look at the 53 is the pressure for the abstract to move into a new cycle, discover something new, and really then document that newness. So it's a fuel to begin. It's the pressure to complete. There is a pressure here. We are in a pressure sandwich. However, we don't want the conditioned mind to be operating through that pressure, because once the conditioned mind is operating through that pressure, then we lose our capacity to tap in to the relaxation of the cellular structure and the wisdom that's housed in the relaxation. This is why quietude of mind is critical to our movement as humanity. So if we look at it, there's a pressure to complete. So the full moon was, leaning into this capacity to, again, the fuel to begin. Of course, once a month, it goes through that gate. But because we have the sun and the earth right here in the 54, 53, grounding us into something new. What is it? And I'm watching in Facebook groups and coaching groups. I'm watching so much stuff, and people are like, they're feeling, I want to say, itchy. They're feeling itchy. They want to, move into this newness of life. So this can be the gate of freedom. And why I say that is Ra always talked about the 53. Don't confine it. So if you have a pet that has the 53 or humanity that has the 53, putting it in a confined area is very difficult for these people. So I have a nephew that has this. So when he was little, I indicated to my sister, let him walk around and eat. Don't confine him into his high chair. And that helped him with his nutrition. He was able to absorb differently when he was able to walk around and not feel that confinement. The minute he felt that confinement, then there was no absorption. He actually didn't want to eat. So the full moon and grounding of that 53 was there. And now we're into the 62. The 62 is, let's just take a look at the 62. So let's just read this. Caution, patience, and detail produce excellence out of limitation. So I see this as it's the word of God. So we had in the 12th gate, we had the larynx drop, and now the 62. This is us speaking our own existence, our Maya into reality. And some people say that God's the only one that can do that. I've noticed that my husband and I can have a conversation. We speak the words and something shows up. So I have evidence that we do have the capacity to speak it in. So, and move past the limitation. And really, what's the limitation? It's the conditioned mind, because the neutrino ocean has all of the potential for us. So if you're worried about what are you going to start next? Maybe just take yourself for a walk and hear what you have to say to yourself. Speak whatever it is today that you want to house in your existence. Speak it out loud. Speak it out loud. So I wanted to play with that and see that we're moving into the 56 moon, which really is this stimulation. It's a stimulation process for your story. What kind of stories are coming up? Is there any kind of old stories that aren't serving you anymore? Or are you able to see that story differently and start to communicate that story differently? So let's just lean into some of these fear gates, because I think this is kind of important. The 44, if we go deeper into this. So what is the 44? Well, it's alertness and it's fear of the past. This is one of the big blackmail gates that is present. So it's also the nose. So we smell a lot of things here. There's a fear of the past that will, condition the now and the future. So there can be this beautiful movement here, if we allow it, that we can see the past, but we don't have to fear it. We can, dissect it and bring it out to our people, our clientele, our kids, right? So, maybe your experience with your mom or your dad or your boss was not favorable. It was difficult. Now's the time to lean in, reflect on it, and then get the awareness. What's the pattern? And it's not about naming things. Oh, they're a narcissist. They were this, they were that, they were mean, they were all of these things. Because it all begins with this energy field of you being aware on the inside, just being aware. And now you get to translate that to your children. You get to translate that with your coworkers. There's a different translation once we see the past differently and we come to the awareness of what's the pattern. And then as soon as we see the pattern and we recognize the pattern, then we can make the shift, because now the awareness field is there. And once the awareness field is there, you, in amongst all of this stuff that's out there, now you get to see, this is who I am. And those were patterns of a conditioned mind or of a belief system or of an opinion that no longer actually is correct or serving you in any way, shape, or form. So now if we go over to the 49, so what is the 49? Well, the 49 is about revolution, and we need revolution right now before our 2027 shift. And that revolution is, we need aware and awake people to infiltrate all the organizations in the world, so that humanity no longer is used incorrectly, used as guinea pigs, used as slaves, but also so that we are no longer looked at as just numbers, that we are used correctly and everybody's needs are taken care of, because that's really what the 49 wants. And again, I'm going to say that the 1949 that's breaking down the middle and no longer going to be there. I have a different take on this than Ra does. After spending a lot of time listening to all the philosophers that he listened to, what I feel is going to happen here is there's going to be no more sacrifice of our mental capacity or our bodies, so that resources can be created. I think that we are going to have a different relationship with God, and that is going to be one where we're not seeking something outside of us, but we are encompassing and housing it inside of us, and allowing for that inside expression to move out into the world. So here it's a fear of rejection. Isn't that fun? But there's an awareness of what is needed. So I have lots of clients with this gate, and it's so fun to watch them revolutionize their way of being and their way of being for other people, so that the needs can be met. And what I mean by needs is, humans do require a level of shelter, a level of community, a level of food intake, a level of sleep. We just require that. That's what the human body needs. And to be honest with you, I don't think there is any scientist. They're still, doing so much research around this. Like, why do we need to sleep? And what is the food intake doing? And I also know that there's many humans in the Tibetan mountains that actually don't consume any food, that they have the capacity to just look at the sun, because it's right here in the firmament, and allow for that sun to feed us, feed the body. I don't know. I do some sun gazing myself now that I have a new relationship with the sun, and it is revolutionary. It is, it definitely, it takes away the hunger pains. There's this new energetic feeding that happens. So the 49 is that awareness of what is needed. It's the revolution that really is ahead of its time. So lean into that. What is needed? What's the revolution? So we see that human design is leaning that way, but there's so much more than human design. There is the quietude of mind, the peace and kindness that is within our hearts. We lost our way. We lost our value system, chasing someone else's dream. So where do you want to reevaluate and lean into the principles, because the 49 is all about the principles. So what is needed in your life based off of principles? And again, I'm going to go into, there's principles in the Bible. There is universal principles or laws that we can lean into that humanity wanted to take away from us, so that we felt disconnected, so that our needs weren't met. Okay. And then the 36, of course, again, I love this, it's my gate. And the 36 is about crisis, but this is a fear of inadequacy, the fear of social or sexual inadequacy. But the actual awareness here, and there's an awareness and a power to release a feeling or not. So what are you feeling? And this is such a big part of how we can regulate our nervous system. What are you feeling? Are you feeling the feels? Are you allowing for those tears of tenderness to just flow through? Are you allowing tears of frustration or bitterness to flow through? Are you allowing tears of anger to flow through? Are you allowing for the tears of joy and yumminess of life to flow through? We feel inadequate because this is the human experiential way. And the 41, which is still here in the Venus activation, the 41 is saying, you have the opportunity for a new experience, and know that there's going to be crisis. There's going to be a darkening of the light where you don't feel adequate. Because we don't know something, there's this natural nervous momentum that happens inside of our nervous system, because we're creating new neural pathways. Like for myself, I have never actually been on a zip line, but I know I can imagine it. I can imagine that if I'm standing on the platform to go down a zip line, I can imagine I'm going to be really nervous. It's a new experience that I've not had before. So it's not knowing, it's not knowing what to expect. And expectation can kill experience, of course. Because if we're expecting the worst, then we stop ourselves from actually harnessing the best. And then if we go to the 24, I love the 24. This is really about addiction, but this is mental anxiety over ignorance, the awareness to struggle for the knowing. Continue to pursue your innermost magic. The 24 is, it rationalizes. And what does rationalizing mean? It's the discipline. It is the discipline to be truthful to your own principles, your own values, your own nervous system, correcting your own past, leaning into the enthusiasm of what's next, and innocently, leaning into that next correct direction for you, and being able to restrain in what it is that you want to move forward to, and just lean into it. What's the freedom that you can feel inside of that? So today, it doesn't look much different than it did yesterday. So you now get to ask yourself some really poignant questions, like, where do I hold myself back from having magical experiences? Are there moments where I let the worry and the anxiety and the fear take me out of the game? And we all do it. I do it as well. I know design very well, and there's still times that I do it. I will quote unquote make excuses. It is what it is. And, I do my best to listen to my sacral center 90% of the time, but there's still that conditioned mind that wants to, take those experiences out of my life. So just know that you can't get it wrong. You're in the perfect place. you have the capacity to be, have, and do what it is that you want to be, have, and do, because the potential of the neutrino ocean is absolutely waiting for you to just be receptive to it. All right, friends, enjoy your day.